Hey, it's Amber, and this is the first episode of Mentor Musings, where I share with you smart SOULutions for creating a life that lights you up and illuminates the world. So today's question comes from Melanie, and she writes, I have a ton of ideas, but difficulty following through. How do I shift that? So first and foremost, I want to share with you, Melanie, that I want to share with you a reframe, so a possibility of looking at this from a more empowering stance if there's any energy around it that feels heavy. So if you consider yourself a creative, a visionary, an independent thinker, a change maker, any of these things, then having a lot of ideas comes with the territory. So first and foremost, just accept that and honor that a lot of ideas is who you are. It's part of the makeup of your big, beautiful brain. So today, what I want to offer you are 5 solutions that will really help you filter through all of those ideas and connect with and take action on the ones that are really calling to you right now. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to brain dump your ideas into one place. So the way I do this is I have a notebook, and inside that notebook I title at the top parking lot. And anytime I have a new idea come about, I write it down. So what it is essentially is a space in which I can put all of these ideas so they don't just stay stored in my head. And that frees up a lot of mental capacity for me to focus throughout my day. Because I'm always generating new ideas, whether it's an expansion on a current project or it's a whole new project. And a lot of times I have ideas that I'm not ready to execute on right now, but if I just keep it in my head, it takes up mental space. And so I put it in this parking lot where I can go back to it later at another time. And typically I review this parking lot every quarter, so once every 3 months. So first, I want you to do that. Get it out of your head onto a piece of paper. Call it a parking lot if you want, call it something else. The second step you're going to do is you're going to decide what really matters to you. So this is very essential, and you might want to write down some tips here because I have some kind of processes you can go through to really narrow that down. So you want to take some time and get real with yourself on what really matters to you, not in general, but what really matters to you right now. And there are 3 things that I do that really help me filter down, funnel in, and get focused on what is essential to me, my heart, my soul, my life right now. So the first thing that I do is I always create a theme for the year. So typically I do this at the end of the year, but you can really do this at any time. And the way I formulate my theme, well, first let me tell you why. I formulate a theme so that when ideas come into my mind, I can filter through and go, will this idea help generate and help make me fulfill and feel the theme in which I am living this year? Because for me, I have so many ideas that I could be all over the place unless I have some kind of foundation, some kind of groundwork to hold me steady in one kind of area in my life. So I will do a review of my year prior, and even if it's the middle of the year, you can do this. And I look at last year. What were the things I was creating? What were the things I was engaging in? Who were the people that I surrounded myself with that allowed for me to feel the most fulfilled, the most alive, the most authentic, the most present, the most joy? And I write all those down. And then once I have that all written down, I look for the theme. So why? Why being around that person? Why creating that thing? Why engaging in that activity made me feel the most alive? What about it? And essentially I write down a bunch of words and I'm able to come up with a general theme. So for instance, this year my theme is inspired connection, because I noticed last year, every time I felt the most alive and the most connected to who I really want to be in this world, it's because I was engaging in some kind of inspired connection. So I was feeling connected and I was feeling inspired connection. So now this year, everything that I create, everything that I do, I check in and I go, will it make me feel a sense of inspired connection? And that really helps me filter through a lot of my ideas this year. The second thing you can do is really get clear on what your priorities are right now. And I'm really emphasizing right now because that is the key. So for instance, if you're a student right now, maybe your priority is giving yourself permission to just be a student, to just allow yourself to be focused on being a student and engaging in that process of learning and researching and taking in information and filtering through what you're learning and how you want to apply that in the future. Or maybe you're in a space right now in your life where you're really desiring space, lots of space to soul search, space to kind of tune into yourself and tune out the world a little bit. And so maybe what you're really a priority is, planning trips, planning space alone, planning reflection time. Or maybe you're in this place where you're really wanting to get out there and you're really you're wanting to take an idea and really birth it into the world, whether this is literally starting a new family, getting pregnant and having a child, or this is birthing a business or a product or something like that into the world. So get real with what your priorities are right now at this time in your life, and then you're able to look at the ideas and go, which ones are going to help nurture my priorities right now. And then the last little tip that I want to give around this particular solution is something that Mark Manson, he's an author, he speaks about it in one of his books. He refers to when people have all of these ideas and which one is the best idea and the most passionate idea or the most change-making idea or the most lucrative idea, they're really going about it the wrong way. And instead he says for you to look at which idea is a shit sandwich that you're willing to eat. Because his point is that all things, no matter how amazing or glamorous or wonderful they look, they all come along, they all have kind of their own flavor of shit sandwich. There's always something that comes along with it that you're not going to want to do or engage with. And so the idea that really is going to be the one that you stick it out, even when the going gets tough, even when it's hard, even when you feel stuck, is the one that you're willing to be with, even when it's hard, even when the parts of it are not the most exciting thing in the world. So of your ideas, there might be certain things that are more so fantasies, more so things that you like the idea of that idea, but when it comes down to it, you don't want to engage with all the bells and whistles, the shit sandwich part. But then there are certain ideas that you might go, even when it's hard, even when it's difficult, even the aspects of that I don't want to do, I'm willing to do because that idea matters to me. So those are 3 ways to kind of filter through what really matters to you. Now, once you've done that, you've gotten all your ideas out in a parking lot and you've gotten clear what matters to you in your life right now, you then need to pick an idea. And what often happens with ideas, especially big ideas, is many times people give up before they even start because they stay in the realm of big, beautiful, bold idea and it overwhelms them. And so you want to take your idea and break it down into practical, bite-sized pieces. And then once you do that and you really break it down into all these tiny little steps that you have to engage in before you actually get to the big picture, one is it allows for your nervous system to relax because you're like, oh, I can do that. I can do that today. I can do that tomorrow. And I can do that one the next day. And oh, that's totally doable for me. And so instead of the big picture, you're seeing these tiny little things. Like, for example, you could start by just opening up a Word document and writing the title of your idea. Right? So when I say break it down into practical bite-sized pizzas, I mean really break it down and then schedule it in. So anytime we have an idea, what's really going to allow for us to execute it in a way that we feel proud is to create some sense of accountability. And so it's one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to write it down, and it's another thing to break it down into bite-sized pieces. But where it really comes alive is when you start tapping it into your calendar and scheduling it into your daily and weekly calendar and starting to create some sense of accountability and showing up for this idea. And you don't have to be rigid with it. Like, you might schedule something in and then when it comes to it, you need to move it around slightly, but get it on the calendar so it starts to become real and tangible. And again, you're not putting on the calendar the big idea, you're putting on the calendar the tiny bite-sized piece. So here's a planning session that you're going to schedule in for 2 hours. Here's the phone call you're going to make. Here's the research you're going to do. And these are all separate tasks, and so they have separate times and places on your calendar. Okay. Now for the fourth one, I'm calling this notice self-destructive behaviors. So anytime we're feeling a lack of motivation or we're having a hard time following through, typically there is some kind of behavior that enables and triggers that. So this is your opportunity to really look inside and go, what are some behaviors I'm engaging in that might be enabling this lack of follow through? So for instance, it could be that you notice, you know what, every morning I wake up and I have kind of a high sugar breakfast, a bagel and cream cheese and coffee or pancakes. And so by 11 a.m. or noon, I'm feeling a little bit drained. And so I don't have as much mental capacity and creative resources available. Or maybe you end your day 3, 4, 5 days a week with 1, 2, 3 glasses of wine. And so you wake up feeling a bit lethargic and foggy and tired. Or it could be something like you're overscheduling yourself. You're putting just too much on your plate each day. And so there's not a lot of capacity for you to bring yourself to these ideas. So really look at those self-destructive patterns that are actually triggering and enabling you to continue to be in that space of lack of motivation, or as you worded it, difficulty following through. And then the last solution I want to share with you is to set the scene for showing up. So what I mean by that is you really want to understand the environments in which you thrive in. And this is from the colors, the textures, the smells that really allow for you to be calm and creative and focused, all the way to maybe a need for structure or having deadlines. So for instance, whenever I'm working on my ideas, I make sure my environment suits me, from the colors to the sounds to the smells, and allows for me to be in a space that I can be focused and I can be creative. But also I know that I thrive with some sense of structure. So for me, having a calendar and having things planned in really allows for me to show up for myself, but also I engage in different activities. Like for instance, if I have a lot of writing to do or a big project that I'm planning that's going to take, quite some time, weeks, if not months, not only do I schedule it in, kind of that tip I told you about, like breaking it down and scheduling it in, but I also will set a timer for 90 minutes. And I, during that time, turn off my email, I turn off social media, I let my partner know not to disturb me unless it's an emergency, and I just focus on whatever that activity, that task is for 90 minutes. When the alarm goes off, I give myself 10 minutes of what I call a movement snack, in which I will either stretch, or I will put on a song and dance, or I will go take Einstein, my dog, for a walk in nature. So it's a movement snack. So it's not like a break where I go and check email or I check social media. It's a true break. And then I come back and I repeat that process 2 more times, giving me a total of, that's like 4.5 hours of focused, engaged time on that project, on that idea. And then I'm done for the day. And I feel a sense of movement forward. I feel a sense of, I'm proud of myself, and I was focused, but I need to create that kind of structure because that's an environment in which I thrive in. So really, set the scene for showing up. What does that look like for you? So I hope this was helpful. These were 5 solutions to help you kind of navigate through having all of those ideas and moving forward with them. And if you have any further questions on this topic, feel free to make some comments below and I'll be sure to answer them, and maybe the community can also engage with that. If you like this, please like it, share it with your friends. And if you yourself have a question you want to ask me for Mentor Musings, you can go to ambercampion.com and you can go up to the Soul Revival TV link, and there you can answer your questions and I will be sure to answer them. And also, if you haven't joined our community, you can go to ambercampion.com, join our community. We're a community of amazing visionaries, seekers, independent thinkers, and I share with you weekly musings and other writings and things to inspire you to really live life on your own terms and to create one that is not only beautiful for you, but beautiful for the world at large. All right, thanks for being here, and I will see you soon. Bye.